and this is more personal, but I didn't feel fulfilled as an artist. I felt that these people, yeah, they love these figures that I was doing, but a lot of it was more because of the film. You know, having to transition from 3 3/4 to, you know, vinyl was definitely like David and Goliath.
Okay, super side note. You said D&D. You're doing Dungeons and Dragons stuff?
Well, look who finally decided to show 10 minutes after our scheduled record time. Theresa, you're becoming like tardy Theresa. You're just consistently late. We have a guest tonight. We can't be making him wait.
I'm sorry. Nice to meet you, Aaron. I apologize.
What's up, Theresa? No, it's okay.
No, it's not okay, Aaron. This is unacceptable. She calls herself a professional.
I actually thought I was going to make it, and then I didn't. I was squeezing in dinner and shower pre-recording. Gary gets mad because he says I have more time because I'm on East Coast, so it's 9:30 here.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you have time because, you know, it's not like you just got off work. But it's like, I do things when I get off work.
Yeah.
So.
No, Aaron, she has 4 hours to get everything she needs to get done before we record. And she still can't. If this was a toy convention, she would be lined up 30 minutes early. But no, not for us.
I'm sorry. But look, I'm fed, I'm clean, I'm ready to go and talk about meats.
All right.
Toys, yeah.
Let's get this going then. Hey, toy family. Welcome to the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
I'm Theresa Hawkins.
Theresa, you know, we've talked about going outside our comfort zones and challenging ourselves to explore, discuss things we don't normally talk about on the show, because usually we talk primarily cute toys, right? That's what we've been accused of.
Yeah, I mean, we try to dabble a bit here and there, but we don't necessarily dabble across the full spectrum, the like not so Theresa realm of the scene.
And there's a reason for that. I would challenge anybody who accused us of being minimal in what we talk about. You try to talk about what you're not knowledgeable on. It is not easy, especially when there's people that are really critical of how the conversation goes down. But we're willing to make fools of ourselves. And so tonight, we invited a gentleman on whose body of work could not be further away from what either Theresa and I collect. Like the complete polar opposite. So... He's laughing because he knows it's true.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Very true.
So he's a man. I really only know him by reputation, and it's a great one at that. He's known for his impeccable dedication to his craft, attention to detail. He sculpts, he paints, he molds, he casts. He does it all from start to finish, and his motto is pretty simple. He makes toys he wish he had growing up. So let's dive in and welcome Retroband to the show. Welcome, Retroband.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Do you want us to call you Retroband or Aaron?
Aaron's fine. I mean, too many syllables in Retroband, so Aaron's fine.
Okay.
Or what about, can I do RB? Hey, RB.
Yeah.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird. We don't know him that well.
I want to be cool. I want to get, create a little nickname for you.
So here's the funny part, Theresa. Aaron thinks we brought him on to try and talk... Like where we try to talk to him about what he does. We're flipping the script, and we're going to have Aaron talk about Pop Mart and all the cute toys that we collect and see how he does. You're down, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm lost on that one.
Well,
is that a store?
Let's focus on you, though. That'll be a lot more fun for Theresa and I.
You don't know? You don't even know who Pop Mart is?
Is that a store?
Oh, man. Okay.
Maybe we should flip the script.
Pop Mart?
Pop Mart, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but please do know that I do love the cutesy stuff as well. I don't know too much of it.
Exactly.
I'm slowly kind of going that route. I'm opening up to it because it's a great medium. It's simplistic. It's not as detailed. It's the total opposite, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just when you try to dedicate into your craft, you need to become obsessive about it, and then you kind of have to have those shutters on there to kind of keep you focused. But after a while, things maybe get boring, at least on my side. So I'm slowly creeping into that world of y'all's.
Absolutely.
Can I tell you, Aaron? So before this episode, I scrolled through your Instagram feed, and I was just hunting. I was like, I wonder, like, is there anything in the world of cute in here? And probably the closest thing I think I found is you had like a teeny little sculpt of Meat as a bat that you made as like a little bow tie for a Dracula character.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's probably the closest thing to cute, just simply because it was teeny weeny.
Theresa, when did you do that research? Was that like on Tuesday night? It was earlier in the week, right?
Yeah.
Have you been sleeping? Have you been sleeping well since?
Oh gosh, nightmares. No, yes, I've been fine.
For those not familiar, Retroband, you're really into horror and gory. I don't think you even like skin. Do you like skin? What do you have against people having skin?
It's this obsession with texture. So I'm traditionally a painter. So whenever I look at figures, I'm always thinking about how the paint application is going to be. I noticed rather quickly with like the designer toys. I mean, forgive me if it's the wrong word or whatever, but I guess like the the urban vinyl stuff, just the smooth texture. Whenever I see that, I mean, it's great. It looks phenomenal with with the pad printing, but as far as me wanting to paint it or me having to do my own version of it, to me I kind of like the the contours, a little bit of the depth of the texture. It really has a different attitude in the final. So whenever I'm I'm looking at something rather smooth and kind of minimal, it's kind of like there's like a roadblock for me. I get almost stumped. So maybe that's why I'm obsessed with these textures and boils and chips and veins and that kind of stuff.
Nice. I totally get it. So how did you discover designer toys and know that you wanted to delve into this world?
By total accident. Prior to doing toys, like I said, I was a painter. So I did a lot of mural work, commission work. But I believe it was until my son was collecting toys, and it kind of brought this this nostalgia back. And he just asked me what kind of toys that I had growing up, and I just told him the basic He-Man, turtles and stuff. And I believe at that time he was collecting Walking Dead toys, and I just mentioned like this would never existed back then. I don't know. I think based off that, I started thinking about like what if I could go back and do these movies like that I love as a kid, how they look like in this like retro aspect, packaging. And I did one, and not knowing anything about designer toys at all whatsoever. In my mind, I was going to be making like movie props, I guess. I mean, people, that's what I thought they were. I made a couple of them for Night of the Creeps. And mind you, at that time, I had no clue about intellectual property, copyright, none of that. But in my mind, I saw this vision. It completes, and, I just went with it. I gave one to a friend who had moved out to LA. Someone else saw it on his feed, and I decided to release them, and they sold out rather quickly. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, And then I later figured out, later saw these artists like, Sucklord, Healy Made, and all these like resin bootleggers, and designer toy artists as well. And I mean, mind you, at that time I had no clue about what vinyl was at all. I just saw these guys, mashing these incredible pieces together, and I kind of fell in that category. I wanted to kind of do that, but everyone was doing Star Wars, and forgive me for saying this, but I love Star Wars, but I'm just not a big fan of it. And I just wanted to make just the movies that I like. I mean, I was assuming they were making these Star Wars figures because they like Star Wars, and I was like, well, I like Creepshow, and I like George Romero and whatnot. So I started doing them, and it got really popular. People loved the films, and it took off like overnight. Within 4 releases, I was able to quit my job and do this full time.
Are you serious? That's it? 4 releases?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense. It was pretty intense because as soon as I started doing them, I started getting these, emails and phone calls from like, Romero, Mondo, Clive Barker, Columbia Pictures.
Wow.
Later came Adult Swim, Toonami. Yeah, and it just now I'm doing licensed work with Unbox with Namco. But yeah, I had no clue about it. I just decided to try it out and to dive deeper into the Twilight Zone. I didn't know I could sculpt. I had no teachings at all. I had no experience in sculpting. I just decided that let me just try it out. And I guess my brain sees 3D a lot easier than 2D. But yeah,
cool.
That's basically it. Sorry.
So you're full time right now, Retroband.
Correct.
Still.
I'm in my studio right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to back up a sec because, as Gary said, we're noobs here, and I'm especially newbie. But okay, what you're referencing that you started with is it action figures?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be action figures. I think what's kind of categorized it as action figures is the fact that it can move, but mine were all static. They look like they can move, but they really can't. But then again, most of my collectors, if people were buying them, weren't taking them out. They were leaving them in their packages. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's definitely the 3 3/4 scale resin figures, card back, blister, all that.
So Gary, like DKE toys, also.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So you started with that, and the names you were throwing out, because again, noob, are horror-related names, like horror films.
Right. So
hold on. Can Theresa name one Clive Barker movie?
Oof.
I don't even know who Clive Barker is.
You've never heard the name?
No.
Okay.
Interesting.
I can guess a movie like Halloween. Is that even like there's the guy with the saw, there's the guy with the mask.
You enjoying this, Aaron?
I mean, I'm used to it. I mean, my wife's just like that. She's not really at all into horror films whatsoever.
It's not even so much that like it's because and I hate the word. I hate even saying horror. It's a very hard word to say. Horror. I just don't do gore or blood and guts or like scare. Like I like romantic comedies. I mean. So I've never even delved in it, and I'm terrible. Like there's certain characters I recognize. Lots of people do fan art and stuff for, but beyond that, I just don't know a whole lot about it. So that's why when you were throwing out different names, I was like, I think they're horror names, but I don't know. So throw out some movies. So what are movies that, like you said, Clive? Would you say Clive? What, Gary?
Yes. So Clive Barker, he did Hellraiser. George Romero pretty much invented zombies. If it wasn't for Romero, there would be no Walking Dead and things like that. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. It's those guys who pioneers in the horror genre. But I mean, like yourself, whenever someone talks about my work, they automatically, I guess folks who don't know too much of it, they often think like it's. They always say the same thing, which is so annoying, which is like goth, goth. I'm just like, no, it had nothing to do with that whatsoever. I just enjoy the '80s horror films, like the '80s, '90s, the guys in the suit, practical effects. That's what I grew up with. Growing up, my mom worked at a video store, so I was there a lot. I was born in '81. So I was right in the middle of all the, cardboard standees, before Blockbuster Video. It was like Hollywood Video, Papa Video.
Yep.
And every weekend was a drive-in theater. Yeah. So, I just grew up with it. Some of these films I used to watch weren't for children, but the first film I ever watched in the drive-in was Demons, and it was terrifying at a young age, watching it. But to me, it was. I never saw it as like it being like whether evil or satanic. I just thought it was super cool, and I enjoyed the adrenaline rush of this whole jump scare stuff, and the guy chasing after you, and kind of thinking about scenarios of what you would do yourself. But yeah, I mean, I do like romantic comedies. Those are fun too. I like. I watch it all the time with my wife. Duplex. Danny DeVito directed it. Ben Stiller, Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
We're getting to know the lighter side of retro.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to look that one up. Go ahead, Gary.
No, Aaron, I don't. So, like you said, you 4 releases in, you were quitting the day job and going full time, but you learned, and you said you didn't even know how to sculpt. So I don't understand how someone goes from not knowing how to sculpt.
Yeah.
To having 4 pretty much sellout releases to quitting the day job. Like, how did you know to come in and do such high quality work that got you instantly recognized to then jumping into, commissions by phenomenal commission list to then quitting the day job? I don't understand where your skill set was painter. How did you make that leap?
So, in the beginning, I was just using existing figures and kind of, mashing them up. To be honest with you, and this is the honest truth, when I would look at other artists that were doing these bootleg figures, I thought they were sculpting them. I had no clue that they were just, just mixing them up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, as an artist, you tend to kind of get harder on yourself and push yourself. And I decided, you know what, if I'm going to be a toy artist, I have to learn how to sculpt, because if I'm making a certain figure based off a movie, at that time, there wasn't too many figures available as of now. Now there's a lot of modern figures that people, companies are making that you can kind of mix and match. But at that time, the library, was very limited. So I was like, you know what, if I can't find a certain head or a certain arm or whatever, I'm just have to learn how to sculpt it. So I just decided to try it out. It worked out well. It's just, I think at the time, I was ready for something new. I was ready to roll the dice on it. Within the 4 months, I already had, people emailing me and contacting me to do collaboration work. One of them was like Alex Pardee. I worked with Alex Pardee.
Yep.
And I mean, mind you, at that time, I wasn't really a traveler. I would just kind of, I was always a Texas boy. But I went to Alex's show, and I remember seeing nothing like it. It was at, I believe it was 1988. Gallery on Melrose. So as I did a collaboration with them, we were there. Now, mind you, I have never seen a line of people outside of an art show. I've seen those kind of lines when there's a band, a band that people are waiting to see. But this line wrapped all down through Melrose, and I've never seen that. So seeing that firsthand. And, working with Alex Pardee, who I only saw this guy on the internet, on magazines, and here he is wanting to work with me. It was just a lot of motivation. I just went for it. And I didn't look back. I made sure everything was perfect. I became obsessive about everything, the packaging, the blister. In the early stages of doing the blisters, I didn't know that you can't just buy a blister from the store. These are custom made, with pucks and, all that stuff. But I wasn't aware. So what I would do is that I go to whether Family Dollar or at that time it was Harbor Freight, and buy little miniature blisters on whatever item it was on, and remove them and replace them on there.
Oh my gosh.
Just to make it perfect, just to have an accessory. Because I was noticing a lot of these toys that people were making, they weren't coming with accessories. So I really wanted to make as if these toys really existed back then. I mean, down to the backer card itself. And the backer card was, all that was made by scratch by hand. Everything was made by hand except, the blisters. My good friend, Gabriel Hernandez, was the artist for the card backs. And we were together in an art collective prior. So we worked really well with each other. And at that time, I don't think too many people were doing this, as far as, with the movie reference. And it just took off. I mean, I came at the right time, talking to people like, Dove from DKE. He really helped me, along the way. I had a few things with him at DCon, and I believe at Comic-Con. But again, not knowing anything about this and hanging out with Dove, for the DCon after party, meeting all the people that I looked up to, on Juxtaposed magazine, like Aaron Woes, Buff Monster. It was just like a dream come true. It was very overwhelming. I went home with the fire under my ass. This is it. This is what you want. This is what you have to do. So if it becomes me staying here late at night trying to get together, all the, I guess all the packaging, the blisters, the cards, and if it takes me an extra month, then it takes me an extra month, but it's going to be polished at the end.
Jesus. What?
Yeah.
So, you were gonna ask. You're asking what I was gonna ask. I was like, what year are we talking about?
Oh man, I'm really bad at this.
Well, you won Designer Toy Award Breakthrough Artist of the Year in 2014, so that was 5 years ago. When did you actually? Probably around when did you start making your first resin action figure?
I would say 2000 and 2012 maybe. Okay. I think. Yeah, 2012.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's not bad. How many resin figures did you think you created back then?
Oh man, it was a release every month.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a release every month and limited of 25. And mind you, at the time I was releasing 25 or 15 at a time, and selling them for $25 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to understand that I'm in Texas, so it's not, the price of living where I'm at, it's not that expensive. So at $25 a piece, I was even, questioning myself, saying like, that's too much money. And actually it wasn't enough, but I slowly learned, the whole time involved and stuff like that. But it later grew to like, 25 a run, and then 50 a run is where I cap it off. I remember specifically, releasing them, and they sell out in seconds. And then, after that, here comes the secondary market, which I had no clue about. And it was just a whole culture shock. I had no idea about any of this, whatsoever. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad, I took that leap. I'm glad that, it worked out, because I wouldn't trade this for the world.
That's awesome.
I'm still trying to figure out how you learned how to sculpt and cast and all this stuff.
Like, no,
seriously though, like, did you find like a YouTube tutorial or someone how and where did you go to figure, like, you just did it? I feel like if I were to go, I said like, okay, this conversation lit a fire under my ass, I'm going to go do this. I don't know what I'd do to begin.
I think a lot of it had to do with, YouTube for sure. It was just, I don't know. I'm really good. I really enjoy like the research, the homework. That's something that, to me, if I'm doing a project and it's too easy, I lose a lot of interest in it rather quickly. The fact that, this was a whole new medium, something I had no clue about. It was fun. It was new. So here I am going through every, book I could find, blog, website, YouTube video, you name it. I was watching everything over and over and over. And that's when it comes to production. That's just the sculpting stuff. The production side of it. The sculpting part of it, I had, again, like no clue I could sculpt. I believe I was doing the Halloween 3 figures, and I decided to maybe try it on myself. And I did all of the heads and the body within like, I don't know, like a couple of days. I'm like, I don't think I did this right. I was, talking to my wife, like, I don't think I did this right. She's like, what do you mean? It's like, it only took me a couple of days. Like, shouldn't it take me longer? I don't know. Maybe I'm not, sculpting it right. Maybe I'm not using the right materials. And then I found a company called Atom Beam Industries. They were doing like this wax type sculpting medium called CX5. I bought some and invested into the setup. And then like overnight, like you're able to, it's hard to explain, but you're able to build rather quickly. There's no armature needed. And I just decided, I just realized that I was able to work with wax a lot quicker. Since I'm really rough with my hands and I work really quickly, the wax was just a perfect medium for me. And I just fell in love with it, right then and there. And then I was able to sculpt. And then I think the first commission I got was, I would say it was George Romero. I did the George Romero figure for Mondo with Justin Ishmael, and then after that was Clive Barker. That started, and then here came Adult Swim. So with Adult Swim, I've done, I think, like maybe 7 toys total with them.
Wow. Theresa, it was just meant to be. This is how it worked for some people,
I know.
He came in at the right time. He had the motivation and the passion and desire to just teach himself to do all these things and explore it all. Some people think about doing these things, and then others, like Aaron here, do it.
No, for sure. I've always been the kind of guy who's just really good with his hands. Like, like I like playing music. I like painting, drawing. It's just better when it's with my hands. I could just stay in my studio and just figure it out. You just don't leave your desk until you figure it out. And that's basically what it was. All the inspiration, all the stuff that I saw, and the people in the community. The toy community is amazing. It's like, I don't know. I was so happy that they invited me to be a part of Decon. So I just did what I had to do. Even if it took me, I'd work literally Monday through Sunday, for the first 3 years of my career in toys. But it wasn't work for me. This was something I love to do. Even to this day, I'm not bullshitting. I love Mondays. It sounds stupid as shit, but I love Mondays because I get to get back to my studio. I get to work and just create monsters.
That's awesome.
That's what I
I need that. I need to like. Well, I need to love Mondays. Maybe even like Mondays.
You need to have some kids, Teresa. Have 2 kids. You'll look forward to going back to work on Monday. It's the best.
Okay.
Going to
Well,
work is my sanctuary.
now I'm curious because I think you mentioned too that the idea of like IPs and licenses and all that was kind of not something you really knew about at first. But as
Right.
people caught on, so did you? I know like there's a whole thing in the bootlegger scene about that, and even in the fan art, if you kind of want to dig in there. But did you have issues with like people saying you were copywriting any IP or people were
Um,
into it? Yeah.
as far as from the licensors and the people who own the IPs,
Yeah.
no, not at all. Nothing. I was told that if you make the license look bad is when they come after you, and I mean, I'm hoping that I kind of give them, it's the best, representation I could have given them in a toy medium, for their license. But no, I mean, I never had any issues whatsoever, thankfully.
Okay. So when you worked with, like you said, you had people reach out for commissions and stuff. So like the Adult Swim one, for example, they
Right.
actually reached out and said, use our IP or whatever and make these things, like gave you the permission to do it.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
That doesn't
Yeah,
happen a lot on that. I mean, if you're
No.
talking about strictly just the bootleg side of the scene, to be a guy who's actually getting official license, that doesn't happen a lot.
See, I mean, you're 100% right. I had no clue about this. People like, like for instance, like Dove Kilmer, like he was kind of explaining to me, like this does not happen. Like you're very lucky. So it was a bit, a bit of a pressure. After a while, yeah, I decided that, I think it's best if maybe, I don't know, I started doing more original stuff, and that's where later stuff, later than when Meets came around. But yeah, I had fun. Absolutely. I mean, it was so much fun working on 3 3/4 stuff. I mean, seeing these figures come to life. It's something about it, when you're sculpting it, and then when you start producing them, and you have them in line on your workbench, and they're there. It's just, I don't know. They're looking right back at you. It's like you brought these things to life. They never existed until now.
Yeah. Now I want to get to talking about Meats and the other side of the toy career that you headed towards and what you're doing now. But so you're no longer doing the 3 3/4 inch action figure type stuff. Does it still have a desire to go back and do that at some point, or have you just moved on from it?
So one of the main reasons why I left it was because of the market. I started noticing a lot of people were doing 3 3/4 movie related stuff, mostly with horror, which is fine. I'm not the only one who loves these films, but I mean, do I miss it? Yes. I mean, it's definitely 100% labor of love. But at the moment, I mean, I'm not doing that at all whatsoever, just because there's so much work involved into it, and you're hand painting all of them. And I guess I got a little spoiled with vinyl. I could just order my Pantone and just start knocking it out. But
Yeah.
I mean, I do have another side. Oh God, I have no idea how to call this. Is it a company? Is it a brand? I don't know. It's another side project called Daily Delivery, where we work on minifigures, more of a chibi style MABA platform, and we tend to tackle some movie characters as well. So that's kind of like my fix to kind of get that out of my system.
Now you said I'm familiar with the term chibi. Would you say MABA?
Yeah, so MABA, it's a whole story with that, but MABA it's a type of figure that came out like in the 80s in Japan. It was Mattel and Bandai, so it's Ma and Ba. And they made these like gross out figures based off like Mad Scientists for Japan, and they were never released in the US. But in a way, they still have that chibi look, and where it's kind of compact, maybe half the body. And that's kind of the platform that me and the collective Daily Delivery do. So there's 2 other artists, Vilosaur, Aaron Chavez, The Last Zectron, which is Octavio Salinas. And yeah, together we're Daily Delivery. And it was just basically this idea that I had about doing mail and order type figures, but it ended up becoming this online thing. So, and doing pretty well. I mean, a lot of people really dig into this little D&D stuff. So I have fun with it. It gives me that satisfaction of this whole like kind of DIY resin stuff, since everything now is vinyl.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, so when I was, like I said, stalking your Instagram to be prepared and not be a super noob, I actually came across someone
Okay.
posting about the deadly delivery, but they called you all the Terror Trio, which I thought was fun. Which makes sense, because I went over and looked at deadly delivery, and I was like, it's right. And it's kind of cool that you all have similar styles, but different. So they mesh well together, but they're still distinctive.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, from what I can tell, it seems like there's some individual releases, but sometimes you all do group themes, right? And we'll release sets, I guess, but that each of you sculpt different ones in it.
Yeah. So what we try to do is carry the somewhat of the tradition of like MABA. I mean, it was Mattel and Bandai coming together to form this, this cool project. So at first, it was just me and Zectron doing it, and then we picked up Vilosaur later. But we normally release 2 figures each month. We only have them in 2 different colors, and then they're retired. And everything's hand sculpted, hand produced, hand packaged, everything from beginning to end. So, and it's the same. I guess not in the same way as what they did in the past, but as far as hand sculpting in the traditional format.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this, Aaron, is, Theresa was saying she went back and researched and everything. And so this is kind of how we prep for the show, right? So it's like we almost study up and we type it out. So it's like one of the things, when we have a guest on, we can actually have a conversation with them. We now understand their world a little bit more. We know things they've worked on. And so I'm going through Theresa's notes here, and it's weird to see Theresa typing words like rotting flesh, Dracu meets, the Terror Trio. It's like, Theresa, good job.
I know. I was actually very proud, because I was like, oh man, like it's gonna creep me out. I gotta go in and look at all this like creepy stuff. But it's interesting the more you dig into it, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting it. Like I get where you're coming from.
Well,
and
for sure.
Here's another word that she threw in there that I didn't even know what this word is, and maybe I'm sure you know what this word is. Gaijin.
I'm sorry, what?
Gaijin.
Gaijin?
Yeah.
Gaijin.
So apparently, this is, if you don't know about it, I just learned about it too. Apparently, this is what people, I guess, Theresa, see if I understand this correctly, but it's a Japanese word for foreigners and non-Japanese. So I guess if you and I being Westerners, right, Aaron, and if we decided to make sofubi or soft vinyl toys, then I guess that's the label we're given.
Guilty. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, so that particular term was actually found, so of course, like I'm Googling Retroband and seeing what pops up. And one of the things that popped up was the School Brain forums. And so there were various threads talking about your toys there.
Who's getting arrested? Is it you?
Sorry, guys. No, it's outside my studio. Someone's getting pulled over.
That's fine. But so I Googled and found School Brain forums, and there were some various threads talking about your toys, but the title of the thread was Gaijin. And I was like, what the heck is Gaijin? So I'm like Googling Gaijin and getting in Wikipedia, and I'm like, oh, okay. It's basically like sofubi or kaiju, but people who are Westerners making it. And when I was trying to think of, like, so I knew you had done sort of the action figure stuff and then sort of branched out. I was trying to think of like what the term is, because when I think about like the spectrum of designer toys, right, you can think about it from a medium perspective, right? Vinyl versus resin or whatever. But then there's also the aesthetic spectrum. And I'm like, there's cute and there's not cute. But like, what would you call your stuff? And so when I saw Gaijin, I'm like, well, maybe that's the word. But I'm curious, like, when you think about the stuff you've now delved into, what would you term it?
So in the beginning, when I was doing the vinyl stuff, I had no idea what kaiju was. I had no idea what any of it was. I know in Hong Kong they call it hardcore. But as far as my stuff, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, majority of these these amazing artists that were doing these sofubi figures, it was all based off like this kaiju kind of thing. I remember like eBay and trying to buy some stuff just so I can see like their sculpts and see how their arms move, just to do my research and homework. And a lot of it was like kaiju beeman, kaiju, and yeah, I mean, I decided, if I would have known that might have maybe, I don't know, peppered its way into me trying to do something with, that's kaiju related. But I mean, I'm glad I was totally naive to all of that and just decided to do something completely Western, which is basically like a slasher, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which worked out for meats, which I was told was like something new and fresh. That was cool. I was like, okay, cool, that's nice. I mean, but now that I know, I know more about it. Yeah, I mean, it was just I guess, fate, I don't know, or luck, whatever you want to call it. But as far as the kaiju stuff, I've never heard of that at all. I mean, I would consider myself or my work just as, I don't know, just soft vinyl. I don't read the Skull Brain stuff. I got a profile and then I just stopped going to it. I'm not into Skull Brain. I don't read too much of like, all the stuff behind all that, what's going on in the, all the I guess politics, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I just hunker down. I just work, man. I don't have time for all that.
No, good.
I just do the best that I can. That's all I can do. My fans are amazing. I love my fans. They, these people write like pages of DMs, and some of them even write me letters. They thank me for making these figures, and they have like bad days, and they come home and their collections there. So like that's the stuff I read, not the other curiosity stuff. But
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we are not proponents of that toy drama.
No,
I'm proud of you.
I don't have time for that. No.
We are proponents of promotion. We do love talking toys, though, Theresa. It's just we try to stay out of the ugly side of toys that you really especially cannot stand. Let's take a brief moment and just mention some of our sponsors. So for all your designer toy needs, wants, and desires, we got 3 awesome stores for you. 3dretro.com. 3D Retro is also a physical location out there in Southern California. So if you're in the area, be sure to check it out. Otherwise, you can visit them at 3dretro.com. If you are on the East Coast and you're in New York City, you can stop by and visit My Plastic Heart, or you can go to myplasticheart.com. If you live in the States, we have a promotional code for you. If you spend $75 or more and use our promo code TOYFAM at checkout, you will receive free shipping on that order. Also, there is StrangeCatToys.com. No physical location, but they have a bus that they travel around with, so if you're in the Florida area, maybe you'll see them. Otherwise, you can go to StrangeCatToys.com, load up that cart, and be sure to use our promotional code MARSHAM at checkout, and you'll receive 10% off that entire order. And to stay on top of all the latest and greatest in designer toy news, be sure to like and follow SpankyStokes.com and thetoychronicle.com. All right, Aaron, let's talk about how you joined Unbox. And I like what you were saying about how you kind of kept your head down. You weren't aware of kaiju and certain trends going on in the designer toy scenes, because had you known about that stuff, maybe you would have possibly gone a different direction. Maybe not. Maybe you still would have ended up exactly where you were supposed to be and what you're doing now. But I want to know how you met Dan from Unbox, how that relationship developed, and how was the transition going from the 3 3/4 resin side of the toy scene to then doing soft vinyl stuff with Unbox?
So, I guess to answer your first question, I was in Austin for MondoCon's first release. Dan was there representing Unbox and I believe Skinner's Lolly figure. I had no interest at all to do vinyl. I was doing really good with 3 3/4. I had full control, for production, for sculpting, people coming to me. So I had no, whatsoever interest in doing vinyl. But that events, Dan came up to me and he introduced himself and we hit it off. I think afterwards we had some dinner and drinks and he had all these amazing stories about all these artists that I admired. And then we kept in touch, for maybe a year or so. But after that, I started noticing more and more people doing this 3 3/4 stuff. And kind of like, I don't want to say the market was getting flooded, but I could see where it was going. Mm-hmm. There's only so many things you can do. At the same time, and this is more personal, but I didn't feel fulfilled as an artist. I felt that these people, yeah, they love these figures that I was doing, but a lot of it was more because of the film,
Right.
you know? So I didn't, as an artist, I'm not satisfied. Like, you know, that wasn't enough for me. So I was like, you know what? I will know more once I start doing my original stuff, original art. I mean, anyone can do these bootleg figures, you know, as far as, you know, the movie stuff. But yeah, so I just like, you know what? Let me work on this idea I've been thinking about. And I believe Gabe Hernandez, the artist that I had for my card backs, was going to work with Dan. And he had mentioned, like, you should, you know, try to give him a holler. And I had this, you know, these sketches, and I just showed him what I had going on. And he was like, let's do it. I'm like, all right, cool. And again, not knowing anything about it, you know, having to transition from 3 3/4 to, you know, vinyl was definitely like David and Goliath. All my sculpting tools were for 3 3/4. So, I mean, you're talking about small tips. You're talking about needle type sculpting tools. So I sculpted meats, I believe, in 5 inches. And Dan was like, no problem, we could scan it, you know, and blow it up. But when they blew it up, some of the detail got lost. And, you know, that, you know, those prints are expensive, you know, and we blew it up from 5 inches to, you know, it's almost 12 inches. And once I received it, I was like, I don't like it. So I just resculpted it again at 12 inches, or, you know, it's 12 inches, whatever, it's like 11.8 or whatever the hell. But either way, I had to resculpt it and send it back. So I had to buy a whole new set of tools and learn how to use these tools to sculpt larger figures. And yeah, I mean, I ran with it. And I remember, what is it? I believe it was Dove. I keep going back to Dove because Dove is always that, you know, Dove and Dan are those coaches, you know, those guys that he just, like, you know, always dropping gems on you. But he told me, he's like, whenever someone does resin, they go try to do, you know, vinyl. It doesn't really work out for them. And I'm glad I didn't hear any of this shit. Like, I'm glad I didn't hear about the kaiju. I'm glad I didn't hear about anything, because I just went for it and it worked out. You know, people really loved meats. And mind you, when I was doing 3 3/4, a lot of it was just Westerners, you know, buying the stuff because they're familiar with the film. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
When I went to vinyl, it became worldwide. I got like the artists, you know, I'm collected from all over the world collecting, and that blew my mind. Seeing meats like in China and Russia and Italy, I was just blown away. You know, these people are taking amazing photos of him. You know what I mean? This guy's not a fucking toy you could put in your back pocket. He's a big dude. So they're carrying this toy with them, and they're just, you know, taking photographs. And that just, I mean, that doesn't melt your heart. I mean, I don't know what will. So that just kept me focused, and I just pushing more and more. And I just used those resin skills that I had to, you know, producing to make his accessories. And then I was told, like, you know, you don't mix resin with vinyl. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to do it no matter what. And I did his accessories. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to step it up a notch. Let's do some garments. Let's do an apron. Let's do a coat. Let's do a t-shirt. And it just went on and on and on. And now we're here, and I'm on, I think I have like 3 figures, Suffer and Tomb and Meats. But the most popular one is Meats.
Nice. The fact that you resculpted that whole piece to scale it up to 12 inches, that's, you know, a lot of people would just went, fuck it. It's fine. It's good enough. And you said no. You went ahead and had to do it right. Yeah,
I have this little, like a spidey sense. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm just going to say no. And it has never failed me to this day. So I was like, no, I can't accept this. Like, this is not, and again, it's nothing to do with Unbox. Like, you know, they warned me. And yeah, but it was a learning, you know, experience, and I'm glad I did it. It worked out, you know, well. It's a great platform to work on, you know.
Yeah. Now we've been talking about meats quite a bit, but I don't think we've actually described it to the listeners. Theresa, describe meats to our listeners.
If I had to describe it, I mean, he's like a rotting flesh guy. It's kind of like his whole body is like brains. like he doesn't have skin. He's like a wrinkly, fleshy dude with a goofy, toothy face. How'd I do?
Maybe like a C-.
That's still passing.
Hey, pass. You know, well, so I am actually curious because I looked it up obviously, but that's kind of what I see. So what is meat supposed to be? What inspired it? Is
So-
Meats just a made-up name, or is it like an acronym, or what?
So, again, like when I started looking more into this vinyl stuff, I realized that a lot of, I just wanted to represent where I'm from to the fullest, knowing now I have friends in whether in Japan or like the major cities, Tokyo, New York, LA. You often see films and everything based on LA or New York. Like it's always those things. There's never so much stuff in Texas. We may got like a Pee Wee Herman cameo for the Alamo, but other than that, there wasn't too much representing it as far as in the toy medium. But so Meats Texas barbecue. There's barbecue joints everywhere. He's an underdog, he's disabled. He's not perfect. And his aesthetics are, basically inspired by all this shit that I grew up with, anything from Madball, anything from, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the horror films. I put everything that I loved into this one character. As far as, me, like I really had to tap into like that 10-year-old Aaron and, and ask him, pat him on the shoulder and ask him, hey, like, what would you like? And this image came out, and I focused a lot on shape. So I kind of made him kind of hunched out. I have a lot of friends, who might look like him a bit, on the thick side with, the packs of weenies behind their head, shaved head, I have homeboys that look like him, and it's just something that I don't know. I just really focus on the shape a lot. I focus on his details, but a lot of it was mostly driven from like the comics I read, the toys I collected, the movies I loved as a child.
That's awesome.
He does. So I googled Retroband Meats again, so I can look at the figures, and and it is almost like he's a hodgepodge of like different things all in one.
Yeah.
Like,
so when I sculpted his
stitched
face
together.
You're right. So when I sculpted his face, I noticed a lot of people were taking photographs of like their toys in different angles, and I wanted to give him different attitudes on different angles of his face. So if you look on his left side, it's a lot different from his right side. But when you put it, when you have the shot, straight on, it's completely different. That was a little hard to do, and I do that to like most of my figures. But I noticed a lot of folks like to take the photograph with them, so I decided to kind of do that as a little extra, and kind of sometimes it's even hard. Like when I ask illustrators or artists to maybe draw him out, like they're always having a hard time trying to figure out how to draw him because he's a little wonky, a little deformed. But it's funny because like if I were to tell anybody, like any collector now who has shelves of Meats figures, I have this idea. He has stitches. Yeah, he might have eyes. Yeah, maybe a few teeth. He has one arm, one hand. He has stitches and shorts, and he's barefooted. It sounds super silly just to like describe him, but when you see him, and even in person, it's a bit I don't know. You get the full grasp of it. So that's why I'm trying my best, to do this other projects that you guys might know with Meats, so people can see him firsthand. Because everyone that sees him through the Instagram and they see him, in person, they're like, oh, I thought he was like 8 inches tall or 5 inches tall, but it's this big 12-inch figure of vinyl, this chunk of vinyl.
But he's been produced in a couple different sizes, right? I know I saw a figure, probably the 12-inch one, holding a smaller version of himself.
Right. So I decided to do this like muscle knockoff, series, since I have, more characters in my roster. So I sculpted a small little muscle figure and casted him in resin and put him in his hand, so it looks, a little bit bigger than.
Is there? So these are really highly. Your sculpt work is phenomenal, and they're highly detailed. Do you have like?
Thank you,
I know some sculptors will hide like little Easter eggs in the detail work on the backside or under the chin. Do you have anything that maybe the collectors aren't aware of that might be hidden on the figure that they should be looking for?
I've pretty much said a lot about him. The major Easter egg was his feet. His feet were taken from our Garbage Pail Kid card. So I noticed a lot of people with all the vinyl toys that I would collect, because mind you, before I did vinyl and Dan had asked me to do vinyl, I bought tons of fucking vinyl off eBay any people, everyone who would release them, I just buy a bunch of it, just to have it, just to feel it, smell it. I mean, really, get into it. And I know a lot of guys have the flat foot, with their stamp on it. And mine, I decided to do something that's, GPK related, which is another obsession that I have. But yeah, that's one of the Easter eggs. I think that's it. That's the major one. Other than that, that's basically it. I mean, my stamp, which is just a Texas symbol. But
is it pretty much Halloween all year round for you?
No, not at all.
When do you bust out the Halloween decor? Is it after September, officially October 1st?
I'm not that guy. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I'm not the Halloween. I mean, to be honest with you, my favorite holiday is Christmas. That's just, I love Christmas. But I mean, I love horror. I love it so much where it's just, I mean, I don't feel I have to be that Halloween guy. That's one thing that just bothers me a lot. Like people here in the studio. The studio that I'm in, it houses other artists as well, photographers, designers, creators. And they're always like, hey, that's the Comic-Con guy. I'm like, oh, hello. Like, you know what I mean? They see me in every morning and they always introduce me like, this is Aaron. He's a toy maker. He's a Comic-Con. I'm like, oh God, like here you go. It's that, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
they are totally just picturing you cosplaying at
I'm
Comic-Con.
not that guy. Like I don't feel that I come off that way, but I do love Halloween. I do love Halloween, especially now with the kids. You get to dress them up. We make all our costumes from scratch. I'm really big into Halloween, now because the kids, I could relive, this childhood thing. But, my oldest one's already in high school, so he's too cool for school.
Nice.
To dress up.
My kids aren't there yet, so I'm still going to enjoy him while I can before he gets too cool for his dad.
Yeah, no, I'm already there, buddy. It's tough.
I saw some photos on Instagram with your kid. Is he starting to help you in the studio?
So you have to understand that these kids are not raised with, toys. They're into this electronic games. And so, no, not really. When he was younger, my oldest was definitely helping me out. As he got older, no, not so much. He doesn't, he's not really involved in this whole toy thing. I mean, he appreciates it. He likes it. I remember the only time he really got super stoked on it was when he saw one of my toys on the Goldberg's TV show, and he was like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And that's funny. He's a tough crowd. That kid. Teenagers are a tough crowd.
As they should be. They're our toughest critics, right?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, so much so.
I love their honesty. What made me bring up the whole Halloween thing is I was looking at your the Rotten Kids that you had done, the little set of trios that you did for the, through you and the Deadly Delivery. And at the end, it said Forever Halloween. So I'm thinking, this guy just loves Halloween. It's all year round for him.
I do love Halloween, but it's just, a lot of people see the stuff that I'm into. They come in my studio, they see, yes, there is skulls everywhere. Yes, there is rotting creep show posters and whatever have you. But I think I hear it too much, maybe from the folks here at the studio, that I'm that guy. So maybe that's probably what it's kind of.
You're like an onion. You got many layers. You're not just the horror guy.
There you go.
Yeah, but no. What I wanted to go back to before I forgot. So you were talking about how when you were sculpting meats, that you were aware of the way it would look from different angles, either when on display or in photos. And can I just say, as a collector, how happy that made me? Because
thank you.
No, seriously though, because, and I think we've talked about this before, Gary, there are times where I really love a figure, but then when on display, if it's like sculpted in a way where it's best viewed from above, when it's on display, I'm like, it's not what I want. Or like the eyes, the way they're positioned, when you look at it from the front, it's not the best. So you kind of need to display it sideways for it to look okay. Mm-hmm. Those things can kind of bug me. So the fact that you're aware of that and that you were thinking about that and thinking like okay, like I want to make it look cool from the left, cool from the right, cool from the front. Like you are aware of all the ways it would look. To me, it's a really cool thing because that's something I pay attention to as a collector. And there have been times where because of the way it's sculpted and maybe it doesn't look great from the front or only looks really good from one side, it can be a turnoff for me. So I just want to say kudos.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm in the same boat. I'm a collector as well. I collect a lot. I mean, too much. I have storages of just stuff that I collect, but I'm the same way. I look for shape. I look for how it looks on the shelf. If I can have numerous ones, and if I can look at them all the time. But yeah, at times I do look at stuff. I'm just like, those teeth. You painted them different, or maybe something's off, or there shouldn't be a polka dot or some kind of spray on there, and they did it. And I get it. I'm the same way. I'm glad, I've never, I do this to all my figures, that I've never had anybody that thinks, I guess, the same as as me, as far as like, seeing it from different angles, but that makes you feel good on my side. I'm glad that someone else thinks the same way, I guess you could say.
Yeah. We're birds of a feather. No, I bet there are people probably, like Gary knows, I can be very, very particular, but you have that eye too. And there may be people out there who aren't like that, but it's just like, they kind of just don't even realize that because of you thinking through all of that makes it even better. So I just think it's cool. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
I'm also going to send you a picture in our chat in Skype because I think I may have accidentally looked at the wrong Meats version.
I kind of figured, that's it.
One of them is really more brainy, roddy, like this guy.
Yeah, that tomb. So how it came about, as far as like the ideas with them, is that I decided to do Meats, and it worked out well. What it started becoming slowly was the fact that before I was doing this, I was doing the movie stuff, the movie 3 3/4. I started realizing that Meats started becoming like my main actor, and I was the director. So I would theme him out and have different releases as different, as a different character in different films. That kind of grew the whole, Meats, as the original Meats, and Meats as the Purple People Eater and the Executioner and the Dracula Meats. And then I started realizing, like Meats is more of a slasher. And in every, 80s genre film, you had like your slasher, you had your monster, then you had your alien. So the one that you just text me would be like my monster. He would be like my zombie monster. And then the other guy, which is Tomb and Suffer, would be definitely like my alien lab scientist that went wrong and muck. So I have like every genre kind of, taken care of. As far as when it comes to the horror genre,
I gotcha. So Sufferer is like your Frankenstein.
Suffer. No, well, yeah, I guess like maybe more of like a, what can I compare him to? But yeah, I mean, science. I guess like science fiction, because mind you, like I'm a huge EC comic fan. I love Tales from the Crypt. So he'd be, definitely, my shock comic versus, the Vault of Horror, and then the Tales from the Crypt would be, of course, Meats. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Theresa, say suffer.
What?
Just say suffer.
Suffer?
You keep on saying sufferer. Go. It's suffer.
It's not sufferer. It's suffer.
Suffer. It's fine.
Oh. That just must have been my typo in my notes because I wrote sufferer.
You did.
So that's my bad.
So, Aaron, being that you are impeccable with the quality, you want full control of everything, how has it been going to Unbox and then kind of a little bit of relinquishing control? Has that been difficult for you?
Kind of, only because like I'm very impatient because I've been used to doing this again on my own and having full control. But I guess what balances that off is the fact that I don't have to wait for paint to dry. I could use the V-color paint on the vinyl figure, and it dries almost instantly. This is all part of it. This is all a learning process for me. It was having to order, wait, my turn in the queue, order my figures, and then they come in, and then it's all good, and there you go, painting them, and and having fun. But it was at first a little bit hard. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was just hard having to wait. They're not coming from down the street either. It's across seas. So, but Unbox, I mean, they have changed my life. They have really given me full control on whatever I want to do as far as my characters go and my work goes, and they're always on board, full supportive. I mean, I can't thank them enough. I can't thank Dan and Leo for doing what they've done for me. When it comes to like my Meets, Suffer, Tomb, the Who Goes There figure, a series stuff that we were doing, and we have other stuff lined up. But I was able to do like Oily Maniac. I was able to do the Splatterhouse figures from Namco. We have more stuff down the line to do, and I don't know. They're just it's too good to be true with them. They've really helped me out tremendously. And so when it comes down to waiting, it's like, no big deal. I mean, I have other stuff I have to do, like whether it be license work. I'm not always doing vinyl or always doing designer toys. I always have other stuff I have to do, whether it be personal projects or commission work or license stuff.
Okay.
Oh, so you do sculpt for others. You don't just sculpt your own things.
If I do that, it's mostly with like Unbox, like the Oily Maniac. That wasn't my toy. It was for the Shaw Brothers. Same thing with like Namco and Splatterhouse. I will sculpt. If the character speaks to me and I'm like, I could execute it rather nicely. I mean, I'll definitely gun for it.
But you're not like a work for hire. You don't want our listeners contacting you. Hey, man, can you sculpt my 3? Yeah, exactly. Let's nip that in the butt right now.
I wasn't catching on. No, yeah, you're right. If it was something like EC Comics knocking on the door, I'm not gonna say no. Instant. It's EC Comics.
It's kind of like you have caller ID or a peephole for a door. You still want to decide if you want to answer that or not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love you all, but I'm sorry.
Do you ever see yourself allowing someone else to do the paintwork? You've always pretty much to this point done the paints.
No, never. I mean, sometimes Unbox will definitely have a run of meets or whatever figure that they have going on, and I'll kind of direct them on how to paint it if it's for like that kind of release. But if it's my work as far as my run, no, never. I don't think I'll ever have anybody paint for me.
Wait. Okay, hold up. So, I'm confused. Unbox produces something like meat and vinyl, and if there is paint detail, you're not talking about just painting a master. You're saying that you have them send all of the vinyl, let's say a run of 50 to you, and you paint each individual one.
Yeah, if it's one of my runs, definitely I'll paint all of them. No problem.
Oh, I guess I missed that. I was assuming because it was through Unbox, they just had their factory do the paint too, but they just do the base vinyl.
Right.
Oh.
So if I'm releasing it, everything's done by me. Everything, from paint to the headers. Even my headers, I've only had a few of them printed, but the majority of them I pen paint all my headers as well. But yeah. Wow. It's pretty obsessive.
It's not like what you're used to, is it, Theresa? A lot of the designers design it, someone else sculpts it, they send it overseas, and then factories handle everything, paint, packaging, everything. But Aaron here, he just does it all. It's impressive.
I know.
And to be honest, I think that's why a lot of people maybe come to me as far as licenses at the time with 3 3/4 because of that. Maybe I do all of it at one shot, but I like the control. I'm not going to put crap out. I'm really going to become like obsessive compulsive with every project that I do. I can't let it leave my studio knowing the fact that, I could have just painted highlights in the hair, so it gets that bad. So, I mean, I recently did an Adult Swim project with Space Ghost Coast to Coast for their Comic-Con convention. That was in July. So that's the latest, I guess, 3 3/4,
And
I know Teresa's mind is you're learning a lot, aren't you?
Yes. No. I mean, I'm just like I seriously didn't realize because I can't think honestly of anything that I collect when it's a production that they have them just produce the base and then they take it all back and add all the detailing themselves. I can't even think of anyone. Can you, Gary?
Paul Kygil Paul Kaiju is similar. He prefers to do a
Oh,
lot
for
of his
sure.
own
Paul
work.
Kaiju does it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so
There's a few guys.
It's just a collector divide. The stuff I collect just doesn't tend to work that way.
Yeah.
So okay. I just it's just different. I just didn't even realize, like, when you're talking about painting, I was like, oh, he's just talking about like painting a master. But then I was like realizing, no, like he does the whole dang thing, which is crazy. And it's awesome. I mean,
Thank you.
So cool.
Well, Theresa, let's talk about something that Aaron has already brought it up. There's going to be other versions of meats, and something that you prefer to like, Theresa, is chibified styled stuff, smaller toys. And so Unbox has been they're going to be doing their second series of the Unbox and Friends mini-series, and Meats is one of the characters this time, isn't it, Aaron?
Correct.
Did you decide? No, but you didn't actually get to design it. It's your characters re-envisioned by, is it two? Two.
Yes, 2.
2 not the pong.
Oof, see, I wasn't even going to try that one.
Right. So, they asked me about this, this project, and my wife collected the first series, and she had some interest into it, and I, just looking at them every day at home, because it's probably the only toys that we have as far as the designer toys that we're allowed to have there, because we're not allowed to have like the horror, my stuff there. It's a bit grotesque, but I get it. Anyways, just looking at them every day, I kind of fell in love with it. I kind of like the whole small, simplistic stylization of it, and 2 has this amazing style that, I was like, let's shoot for it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what he can sketch up or, just kind of design, and I fell in love with it instantly. I thought it was really cool. So we're having, definitely 2 versions of him, mini meats for Unbox and Friends.
Mini meats, I like that.
It's exciting.
It is.
It is.
It's a whole other world. To me, it's fun. Like if it's new, it's fresh, it's fun, I'll shoot for it. Then again, you're talking to a guy who just didn't stick with 3 3/4. Like I'm trying new things. You know what I mean? Like I'm testing things out. I still believe that I'm still Teresa's been telling me, a noob. Like I feel the same way at times. It's like I don't think I've covered enough. Like I want to try different things, and this will be a challenge, even if it comes down to maybe me learning how to 3D sculpt. Because it's something that you definitely have to maybe approach it on ZBrush, because it's so clean. Doing traditionally would be very, very hard. But anyways, even if it comes down to later on the line, me learning how to do ZBrush, then maybe I'm not going to be opposed to it. I'm not going to be definitely keeping my options open.
Now you mentioned working with Unbox. You're doing the Unbox and Friends series 2, but you had also done their other little mini blind box series called Who Goes There? Series 1, you were part of that one. Are you part of series 2 as well?
Yes. I don't know if I can talk. Let's see. I am a part of series 2 as well. These were right up my alley. We had to do 6 different figures. They have 6 different original designs that I've done for them. And I gotta say, every time I see these, fans and collectors, their photos, I'm just blown away. Like their marbling is amazing. Mm-hmm. I think I've become obsessed with little miniatures, like mini figures. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So much. Mind you, maybe it's because years of of rocking meats, and now Tombs and Suffer, these shelf hogs. I like the minifigures. I don't know. So Dan asked me, would you be, interested in doing minifigures? And mind you, I was already deeply involved into the daily delivery, so we were already working with minifigures. But it's just something about it. I like it. It's not going anywhere. I dig it. Will I do more figures? Maybe. But at the moment, I'm having tons of fun working with them, with both, Who Goes There and Unbox and Friends.
In the Who Goes There, from what I understand, there's no theme. It's just you guys are told, just go for it, do whatever you want, and we'll make it.
Oh yeah, it's straight artists, like straight from your brain, your world, and that's exactly what I want to hear whenever I'm working on a project. It's like, just go nuts. I'm just like, that's all you need to tell me. And they worked out pretty great. The cool thing about it is that once people see all of them, they'll be able to swap heads, and they'll all be cohesive as well. So it'd be pretty interesting, yeah.
So that's a new thing with Series 2, the swappability?
Well, with mine are chaser figures because of the size and the head swap. But, yeah.
Oh, I love head swaps. They're so fun.
That's another thing that I found out about. I was really into that, and that kind of, helped me, like, I guess, go the way of like Suffer and Tomb, because they both have the same body but just different heads. So yeah, I mean, I again, not knowing anything about anything. I mean, I know there's guys that have been in this game since like, I don't know, like early 2000s, and they've been really doing this. So like, the more I do it, the more I learn, the more people I talk to, I've only been doing this for what, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, 6 years almost. So I still feel like, like I got a lot to learn, like these, OGs like Paul Kaiju, and MVH, those guys have been doing this for a minute. And, like I feel like I'm just starting, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But man, you everything you say, I'm just like, yes, I feel like you get it. Like you almost get what collectors
That means a lot.
want. No, I mean, like that, like head swaps is so fun for me. Just like little things like that where like it's like the Circus Posteris, those chibis. Gary, help me remember the name of that series. It was Brant and then Chris and Amanda and Kathy.
Pocket Sideshow.
Yes, Pocket Sideshow. Thank you. But what was really cool about that series for me is they were all individual characters, but you could swap all the heads between them, which just added just an additional element of fun. And so the fact that you've tapped into that, it's like even like the androids that Andrew Bell did, that he started making pieced out, where you can kind of build mini versions or swap in different pieces from other characters. Mm-hmm. It's just another additional tidbit of fun in our scene.
I 100% agree. It becomes interactive. It's little things, you know what I mean? And that's something that I definitely look forward to as well. And some of the things that, with these, once I start doing my releases of like, my figures of who goes there, like I'd be adding like little mini accessories, and like that to me is like something that I would want with somebody else. And I mean, now that's all I pretty much collect is mini stuff. I mean, it's becoming an issue, but that's why I've been obsessed with like MABA, this whole chibi stuff because of that. Yeah, I mean, I'm having fun with both worlds, you know what I mean, and slowly now tapping into this whole Theresa, Gary type world where it's just like cutesy stuff. So we'll see what happens.
But yeah, oh man, I'm just this is just so fun. I was so nervous because it was even like
this happens every time. We don't want to go outside our comfort zones, but anytime that we've had Paul Kaiju on, we've had Aaron here. It's like even like James Groman, guys that I look at their body of work, I'm like, what? I can't talk on that. How can I talk to them? And then they come on the show, and they're all seriously, all three of you guys have been the best guys to talk to.
Oh, yes. Wow, that means a lot. Thank you so much, man.
Seriously.
Appreciate it.
It's so funny because Who Goes There, when it first came out, I think I still didn't really know what it was. I remember being at DCon last year, and I went up to Dan and I was like, "Hey Dan, I've been seeing people walking around with this Who Goes There box. What is that? Like, I didn't know. Do I need to find it?" And he goes, "Oh no, that's not for you."
Oh my God, he said that.
He was just like, that's not for you, Theresa. Just don't worry about it.
Oh, you know
so
what?
He knows.
I think that's the first time I met you guys was last year at DCon. Yeah.
Are you going to DCon this year?
Yeah, I've been going for the last like 4 years or so. I'm whether with, I used to be on my own, but now I've been kind of representing Unbox in their table.
Nice.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I have a couple questions. One, so having to reimagine meats for the Unbox and Friends series, was that the first time someone has done their own version of meats?
Yes, I believe so. I've been, when Dan approached me with the idea, I looked at two stuff and it was very cohesive, and that's one thing I look for a lot is the cohesiveness. So when it's up on the shelf, it all speaks in unison. But that's the first time I ever, someone's ever done their version of meats. I mean, there's been like maybe some illustrations here and there, but for the most part, it's just that one.
It's kind of cool.
I love it. Yeah, it's super cool. I like it. It's different, way different. It was hard to see it with not so much detail. It was a bit of like, all right, come on, like you need to just be a little open-minded. It's okay. Like people are not going to think you're Your work is soft. Just so many things running through your brain. But I like it. It's pretty cool. I mean, I dig it. I respect Tu's work. I respect Unbox direction, and these guys know what they're doing. And yeah, they've convinced me, and I'm a fan.
Nice. Being a man that likes to be in control of the things that you create, how do you feel when someone customizes something that you did? Do you feel honored by that, or does it bother you?
You know what, man? If they buy it, and this is for all the collectors listening, if you fucking buy my work, it's yours.
There you
go. It's your toy. It's your toy. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it. But I'll tell you this one thing: you better do it the best you can, because I am.
Exactly.
I mean, they could do whatever they want. I have no problem. I mean, so many people email me and DM me, "Hey, man," I'm like, dude, do whatever the fuck you want. It's your toy. It's yours. You purchased it. You can do whatever you want. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy whatsoever. I mean, I would love to see, a whole bunch of, I would like to be able to, like, maybe at one point have some meats available for people can customize and, go wild with it. You never know. There might be some wild out shit out there that might come up, and I may want to do a collab with you. But if you're buying, your toy, man, that's your stuff. You do whatever you want. I love seeing different versions of him. Every artist has their own style in painting. And that's one thing I look for the most. So it's whenever someone does a figure, I'm dissecting the fuck out of their paint application. I know exactly what paints they're using. I know what, if they're using brush. I know, what technique they're using. But seeing different versions of it, especially like, seeing it like in the folks, overseas, man, it gets serious over there. Those guys add some major eyes, some hair installs. It can get crazy, but I like it, man. No biggie.
That's cool.
Yeah. I love that you're open to that. You're open to just trying things and seeing what happens with it. And I don't know. It's cool.
I mean, you have to be. I mean, how boring is it to eat the same meal every day? You got to try different foods. And this to me is the same thing. It's like, I'm going to try different things. It doesn't work out. But I mean, at the same time, the direction, the people involved, like, I respect them and I trust them. So that, that's also a major part of it all. Again, seeing this whole cutesy thing, I mean, I don't know. It grew on me. I'll be honest, like, you could even ask Dan, I was against it. I was like, I do not like this cute stuff. I don't like these big eyes. I don't like pad printing. Like, I don't like any of that. But slowly, and, it's like, okay, this is not what you do. This is a totally different, it's a whole different world out there. This is something that, it's a whole other market. A lot of the cute stuff sells a lot more than the horror or, whatever the hell the stuff I do does. But I think a lot of it was the fact that it was just a different song. Like, I was listening to this, like, kind of like hard, like, blown out metal, and then here's this, like, this clean, like, very simple constructed piece that I was just like, yeah, I dig it. I like it.
It's a nice analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, Aaron, one reason we want to have you come on is we heard that you're having a solo show at the end of the month in New York City. You want to talk on that for a little bit?
Yeah. So, it's going to be at Bottleneck Gallery in Brooklyn. It's a solo show I'm having along with, Co-Art Publications. We're releasing a book about meats. So it's a huge honor for me to work with Nick and Pam, who are the owners of Co-Art Publications, and decided to do their first book about meats. And it's just it's been this roller coaster, of all the stuff I've been telling you about from the beginning of resin to where I am now. So
it's a solo show and a book release. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is a dream come true. So now here I am doing a solo show at Bottleneck in New York. For the book, as well as for, I'll have, tons of work of meats. But September 21st, New York, Brooklyn, Bottleneck Gallery, Retroband, Co-Art Publications. That's the big deal. It's long in the making, but I'm super happy and a bit, it's like a dream again. Where I was before to where I am now, if you really knew my past and where, the stuff I had to deal with to where I am now, it's been a hell of a roller coaster for sure.
Now, I know co-art, what they tend to do is dig really into like the history and meaning behind toys. So is the book focused kind of around like the inspiration behind it and like the evolution of meats over time?
Yes, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like, yeah, it is, its evolution and all, its different releases, who I am, how I started, whether it be, from the art world to now, from the transition from art world to toys, the inspiration behind all that. For those folks who are obsessed with meats, this book is definitely for you. I'm super happy for Co-Art Publications. Both Nick and Pam have really been over backwards to get the proper collection to shoot, the proper photographer. It's very well put together. I cannot wait till September to go back to New York and have this book release as well as a solo show at Bottleneck. It's something that I've been thinking about for some time, actually this whole entire year. So I'm glad it's finally here.
Yeah, congrats on that. I mean, this is a serious book. This is a 154-page retrospective just on meats. Go looking at
it's pretty.
This is no joke.
Serious, man. When I got a copy of it, it was just, I don't know how to explain it, man. It was just very surreal. I went home, showed my wife, and we're just like, holy shit, this is something. This is cool. I mean, this is it's a book about meat, for God's sakes. Like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And then when I look back at what I've done, I was like, I don't remember any of this. I mean, I do, but there's so much has happened. Like there's never a month where I'm just like twiddling my fucking thumbs. Like I'm always working nonstop, and I love it. I love the hustle, but it's just I'm like, oh, I remember this. It's like total like time warp, going back in time, just looking at everything I've done, and it's I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy where I'm at.
Congrats. That sounds so awesome what Co-Art's doing with your publication and their first publication. I hope and I look forward to what they continue to do, because our toy scene is 20 plus years old now, and there's a lot of artists out there that have a large body of work like yourself that it would be awesome to have just a catalog of all these toys and customs and shows that people have done over their long toy careers. But to talk about your book, so again, it was 154 pages, full color. It's an edition of 1,500 books with a price tag of $50. That's amazing.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I don't want to, Gary, I don't want to stop talking. Do we really have to stop talking?
No, I mean, we have technically 10 more minutes until Mother Time says we can't publish this anymore.
And I just have one more question, and we can cut it if you need to. It's really just a curiosity thing.
No, go ahead. Yeah, whatever you want.
But I know we've talked all about all of your vinyl stuff being done with Unbox. So do you work exclusively with Unbox for production? They're the only person you produce through?
I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? These guys have always been there for me since the beginning of my career. Yeah, I mean, exclusively, yeah. I guess you can say so. I mean, these guys are amazing. I love keeping a tight circle because you know how it is sometimes, like things get in the way or people act funny. But, I mean, working with Dan and Leo, I mean, perfect all the way through. I mean, I can't really complain. Dan has this amazing vision. He likes to, tackle on these licenses that are like cult, classics. And, I don't mind it. I mean, we're friends. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, it's business, but whenever we're together hanging out, we're really tight, and it's even tighter, in the work environment as well. And when it comes to production, them doing my figure, I'll mention to them, this is what I want, this is how it's supposed to be, and it's they're just like, we're on it. And the guys they have in factory, Leo holding it down over there. I mean, those guys, they're pros. They know what they're doing.
Cool. I was just curious.
Good people. Good people. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, then again, it's like, I don't really have too many figures out. I don't really have that many characters. I only have like 3 characters in my catalog. But I have so many ideas with each character that I kind of want to get them all out before I start working on the next one and the next one and the next one. So I feel as far as my vinyl career, I just started. Meats is finally becoming more common, but I have so many more ideas that I want to, knock out as far as, paint applications for the other figures that, I kind of, but then again, mind you, like I'm working on other projects. So, it's not all the time that I'm having to really worry about these vinyl pieces, every month or so. But I like I said, like, whether it be working with Adult Swim, working on resin stuff, vinyl stuff, with Retroband and Unbox license work, or to be minifigures with D&D, and now I'm opening up a toy gallery, in the art district of San Antonio, so we can showcase this format of designer toys to the art community. So that's another thing that I'm working on as well. Yeah. So we had a glow show we had a show. I'm sorry, that Unbox was touring. It was like Shanghai and Tokyo, and then the U.S. one was in San Antonio. So, we had the show. It opened at 7. People flew in from like New York, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, all through Texas. The show started at 7. People were in line at 5, kind of out the door. And it was a huge success. And people were really upset that this wasn't going to be ongoing thing. So I just decided maybe, it was kind of bothering me. I was like, you know what, maybe I should just try a gallery. So I decided to open up a gallery that opens up next month as well in September.
My goodness.
Pretty interesting.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
You're just doing it all. No, I remember the glow show. I think they're actually on their second round of it, maybe a glow show too.
Right. I mean, the recent one they did was pretty wild. I was really blown away. I mean, mind you, it's not really easy for any gallery. Most galleries you see, they'll have like a shop involved, to kind of, it's part of it, it's common. But as a gallery, just to have it fill it up with toys is one thing. Because prior to this, I had my own art gallery where, it's easy to fill up a 4x6 painting on walls. It takes up a lot of space versus little figures, whether they be small or large. It's still tough, and having to do with the shelving and all that kind of system. Tough, and these guys executed it very well from this last glow show. So, kudos to them. But now this gallery that I'm having, it's right there in the middle. It's not too big, not too small, but I'm hoping that I can maybe maybe develop a community in the South for designer toys. And we're not just going to have the gore stuff. We're going to have everything, all types of platforms, and kind of show everybody for everything. So pretty excited about that.
Wow.
Cool.
This is awesome news. This is what we're talking about. This is how you grow the community, people doing stuff like this.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, super side note. You said D&D. You're doing Dungeons and Dragons stuff?
So D&D is the short for Deadly Delivery.
Oh!
Yeah. You said it a few times now. I thought I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah.
I know, but I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. I just got to ask.
It just sounds so cool when I say D&D, so we just ran with D&D. But D&D became this obsession with mail-and-order toys. I grew up with it, so I had my first Meats figure released in D-Con, and that's when I had a little mail-and-order catalog in the bottom of, I guess it was like a little handout I was giving out, and if you submitted this much money in cash, you get, this figure or the T-shirt or a patch or whatever. And I just became really nerded out by it, and the idea behind it about someone seeing a catalog of illustrations and not knowing what they're going to get, but just knowing, based off the illustration, sending in money. And a few people did it. It was fun. And then it's like, you know what, it's not going to work out this way. So we just decided to have our own handle, Instagram, and go that route. And, I picked up the last Zectron, as part of the collective. And then a couple of years into it, we picked up this artist, Wildstar, Aaron, another Aaron. And it's been perfect. Like, I mean, to do this on your own in your studio, in your own oasis is one thing, but to kind of do this with friends, it's so much fun. It's like a monster squad, you know what I mean? It's like a little club that we have, and our fans are amazing. Like, these guys have amazing photos, and I have another big secret or little big project I have coming up that involves the fans that I'm working on at the moment. But again, it's these fans, who are the collectors who collect our work, the stuff they say, I mean, it really pushes us to do more and better. They're just so amazing. So a lot of you fans that are listening to right now, a lot of you guys tend to like DM me after a convention saying, hey, I met you. Do us all a favor. When you come up to our booth, say hello, say, hey, this is who I am. We would love to meet you. Like, you have no idea in the conversations that we have when the decon's over, we're having beer and dinner. Mm-hmm. These kind of conversations are about these amazing fans that we met. Like, we love to meet all you guys, like, to put a face behind it, shake your hand, you know what I mean? Like, get to know you, shoot the shit. We absolutely, well, me, Zectron, and Volstar. We absolutely love you guys tremendously. I mean, it's a blessing for sure. I mean, you guys support.
Theresa, you're probably tearing up right now as a collector to hear that.
Well, no, I'm not crying, but yeah, I mean, that's what's so fun of going to these events. And I remember my first decon, I was shitting myself, honestly, because I went by myself and I still didn't really know a lot of people, and it felt very I was out of my element going in, and I was so nervous because like that's when I first finally met like Chris and Amanda and some of these artists that I absolutely love.
You
and
managed to squeeze in Chris and Amanda. Congratulations.
I actually
Jesus.
they came up earlier with the Circus Poster stuff.
That's
Gary.
true. I missed that one.
But no, I mean, like, I got to meet you eventually. So yeah, like being as a collector, being able to go to events and go up and talk to artists is amazing for us as well. So the fact that it helps to know and hear from you saying like, yes, talk to us, because I think as a collector, sometimes you can get kind of nervous and in your head and you're like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to bother them. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'll just go buy the thing and run away. So everyone say hi, talk.
Yeah, that's something that we really look up to, because I get these, like I said, these DMs, and they're just like, hey, I met you. I'm just like, oh, why don't you say hello? Like you collect everything that we put out. You know what I mean? And I mean that's something that it's always good to have the face of the Instagram handle. You know what I mean? Especially now, this whole fucking world is just just digital, and everyone's just like on their phone. It's just good to have a really good normal relationship and just hello and shake your hand and eye contact and all that pre-internet stuff, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
So say hi. Same to the Marshamites, which I know everyone seems to hate that name. I don't care.
I dig it. It's pretty cool.
Marshamites, come say hi to me.
Well, sadly, we do have to wrap this up. I mean, you've been absolutely fantastic to talk to. Thanks so much for taking time. A break from.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know you're working hard on that show for New York and at the end of September at the Bottleneck Gallery. But I appreciate you taking 2 hours out of your night to spend some time talking to Theresa and I. And it's been great. And hopefully your fan base and our listeners enjoy everything that you said tonight. So why don't you take a brief moment and just let our listeners know where they can find you on the web and all the other good stuff.
Okay, no problem. So again, thank you guys for having me. It's been a big honor. I mean, you guys interview a lot of big heads. So this meant a lot to me. It was really good to finally talk. I don't do many interviews as far as, podcasts, but this has been really cool. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Retroband, Twitter, Retroband Toys, www.retrobandtoys. Also follow us at Daily Delivery on Instagram, and the Form Gallery on Instagram as well for updates on the new gallery coming up.
Very nice. No, it's been an honor for you to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, guys.
Yep. Theresa, why don't you go next?
Sure. Theresa Hawkins. Find me on Instagram, TMHawk24.
And I'm Gary Ham. You can find me at Gary Ham on Instagram or superham.com. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We do this every week, not because we have to,
but because we want to.
So, until our next transmission next week, the one and the only Jesse Hernandez will be joining us. So until then, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Later.
Bye. Thank you, Aaron.
Bye-bye.